أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا، وانفعنا بما علمتنا، وزدنا علما وإيمانا وفقها في الدين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وتجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا رب العالمين. This is the 10th hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا، وإن الله أمر المؤمنين بما أمر به المرسلين، فقال: يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا، وقال: يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من الطيبات ما رزقناكم. ثم ذكر الرجل أشعث أكبر يمد يديه إلى السماء: يا رب يا رب، ومطعمه حرام، ومشربه حرام، وملبسه حرام، وغذي بالحرام، فأنى يستجاب له. رواه Muslim. So this hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah, right? And we've already discussed the biography of Abu Hurairah. So what do you remember about Abu Hurairah?
He was a very pious person.
Is there any companion that we mentioned that we said is not pious?
An attribute. He was also very close to the Prophet, and the Prophet prayed for him. So he has one of the most retentive memories.
Yes.
At that time, he memorized close to 5,000 hadiths.
More than 5,000.
More than 5,000 hadiths. And he was the leader of Al-Kufa.
No, Ahl Sufa.
Al-Sufa.
Yeah, Ahl Sufa. Yeah. So what else?
Based on what he has learned, he became rich.
He became rich
After
the death of the Prophet. Yeah.
He became a governor.
Yes. Yeah. And what else do you remember any other thing?
Yes. There were some times that because of the rate of his hunger, he would stand on the streets waiting for the Sahabs, like Abu Bakr and Umar, to come and pass. But no one understood him except the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah. And we said he used to say a number of dhikr before he sleeps. 12,000. Yeah, 12,000. Okay. So when did he die?
On the 7th.
What? He died in the 57th year.
57th year.
58th. 58th year. So he died, and then in the same year, there's a number of Sahabas who died in that year. Among them were Aisha radiallahu anha. Aisha also died in the same year. And do you know something? Abu Hurairah who prayed on Aisha. He led the janazah prayer of Aisha's funeral, and then he also died later after some months after the death of Aisha. Yeah. So Abu Hurairah, this is one of the hadith he narrated. He said, Inna Allah tayyibun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure. So being pure here means Allah is what? Allah is perfect, right? Allah is perfect in His essence, in His attribute. He is pure, right? There's no deficiency in any of what attached to Him, be it a deficiency on His attribute or His essence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure. That's Al-Quddus. He's pure. Inna Allah tayyibun. La yakbalu illa tayyiban. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept anything except that which is pure. Because He is pure and does not accept anything except that which is pure. So if we say He don't accept anything except that which is pure, what does it mean?
means it doesn't accept evil.
Okay, it's not what I want. So it means that he does not accept any act of worship, except with what? With sincerity. Right? He commanded us to do what? To do good, and then there are acts of worship that he encouraged us to do, like salah, siyam, fasting, being dutiful to parents. So all these acts of worship, Allah won't accept it as what? As a good deed, except that which is done with sincerity. Right? You intend to do, or you intended to please Allah alone. You did it for the sake of Allah, and then this becomes what? This becomes pure. Right? So there are two things, two conditions, right? When these two conditions are met, then a deed, an action becomes what? Becomes pure and acceptable. It should be done for the sake of Allah. Whatever you're doing, it should be for the sake of Allah. If you want to pray, salah should be for the sake of Allah. You want to give charity, should be for the sake of Allah. You want to say something good, it should be for the sake of Allah, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the second condition is it should be done as prescribed. If it is the teaching from the teachings of the Quran, it should be done as prescribed by the Quran. And if it's according to the Sunnah, it should be done as the Prophet did. Right? So Allah has commanded us to what? To pray 5 times a day. Right? So you pray 5 times a day as the Prophet ﷺ taught us to pray. Right? You don't pray 5 times, or you don't pray for the sake of people. And then this prayer has what? Appointed time. You have to pray within that time, not before that time. You get it? So it should be done for the sake of Allah. Any act of worship should be done for the sake of Allah. Right? And then it should be done also as prescribed. And then also charity that we give, this sadaqah that we give, be it zakah or voluntary charity. If we say zakah is what? Zakah is obligatory, right? And it's not everyone who is qualified to give zakah, right? But there is what? Voluntary sadaqah, right? So here, sadaqah, when we give sadaqah, the sadaqah that we give should be for the sake of Allah. And then should be from what? From a lawful source, from a legal source. Do you get this? Meaning, sadaqah is an act of worship, right? Okay, so we give sadaqah, we give charity for Allah to be pleased with us and then bless us and reward us for that, right? Okay, so this sadaqah that we give, it's an act of worship. It should be for the sake of Allah, right? And then secondly, it should be from what? From a legal and from a what? From a lawful source. Meaning that property or that thing or that money that you are giving out in charity should not be what? A stolen property. You get it? It should not be what? From a stolen property. It should not be something that you've duped someone, right? Or you've cheated, right? Or something from gambling, right? It should be from halal source. Do you get it? So it means inna Allah tayyibun la yakbalu illa tayyiban. Do you get it? Inna Allah tayyibun la yakbalu illa tayyiban. Allah is pure and does not accept anything except that which is pure. Do you get it? Wa inna Allah amara al-mu'minina bima amara bihi al-mursalin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the believers to do as He commanded the messengers. Right? Allah commanded the believers to do as He commanded the messengers. So what did Allah command the believers? The Prophet said, قال الله تعالى, Allah said, يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات وَعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا. O messengers, eat from good things and act righteously. So here, this is the commandment of Allah to the messengers. So Allah said, Ya ayyuha rusul. O messengers, eat from what? From good things. from lawful things, and then act righteously. So this is what? This is the commandment. Right? So where is the commandment to the believers? Allah said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, kulu min at-tayyibati ma razaqnakum. Eat from what? Eat from the good things that we have provided for you. Right? Eat from what? From the good things that we have provided for you. So here, Allah commanded the believers to eat from what? From good things. And then I also what? Commanded the believers to what? To eat from what? From good things. So here, what does good things here? What does it mean? From these two verses. He commanded the believers as he commanded the messengers. So, and then we explain the commandment, right? And in all the commandment, he said they should eat from what? From good things. That's the messenger should what? Should eat from good things and then act righteously. And then also the believer should also what? Eat from what? From the good things that Allah has provided for them. So what does Allah in the two verses, Allah said, eat from what? From the good things. Eat from what? From the good things that are provided for you. That's to the believers. And then also he commanded the messengers to eat from what? From the good things. So what does a good thing, when we say eat from good things, what does it mean?
Basically, the money that you have forced yourself and get.
Money that you've earned from your labor.
Let's say,
so this a good thing? Okay. Is that all, or you want to add something? Okay.
Maybe money that you got from doing righteous acts, unlike gambling and other things.
No. So here the commandment is eat from the good things that we have provided for you. Here it means that Allah is commanding us to eat from what? From what is halal. What He has what? From what He has prescribed. From what He has what categorized as what lawful for us. Because it's not everything. Food is a food, right? But it's not every food that is lawful for a Muslim to eat. Do you get it? Right? There are things that Allah has made lawful for us. So these Allah call them tayyibat. And then there are things that He has prohibited. So the things that He has prohibited, He called it khabith. Right? Khabith, impure. Right? Unlawful. So here, the food like meat that we eat, beef, goat meat, and then other meats, the chicken, all these are what? Lawful things. The fruits, vegetables, all these are what? All these are lawful and good things because they fall under tayyibat. Right? And then the unlawful things are what? Are pork. Right? Because Allah has what? Has prohibited it. Pork, and then also alcohol. Right? And other things that Allah has what? Allah has prohibited. So He commanded us to eat from what? From these good things that He has what? Made lawful. And then we should stay away from. So if He is commanding us to eat from what? From good things, it means that we should what? We should stay away from the impure. The things that He has what? Made unlawful. Do you get it? Uh-huh. So He said we should what? We should eat from what? From the good things. Meaning we should stay. It also means that it implies that we should stay away from the impure and then unlawful things. Right? And here it also means that here He commanded us, Allah commanded us to what? To eat from what? From the good things. Right? And it also means that the things that we are eating, we should what? We should acquire them with what? With something that we've gained from a legal source. Do you get it? We've already explained that, right? Yeah, so you don't give charity with something that is what? Illegal or unlawful. You get it? Same as these things, let's say beef or apple, these toyibat, right? These fruit that we eat. It's parts of what? The good things that Allah has provided for us, right? But do we buy them? Yes, we buy them before what? We consume, right? So here, the money that you use in buying should also be from what? From a legal source. Do you get it?
Okay.
Right? So now, let's say you went to buy something that fall under the tayyibat, the good things. Yeah. Now, Allah has commanded us to eat from the tayyibat, right? So it means also that what we are using to buy, the money that we'll be using to buy the tayyibat should also be from a lawful source, right? You don't go and steal and buy tayyibat. So when you go and steal something, money, and then go and buy tayyibat with this is still haram. You get it? You get it? So if, let's say, you also earn money from what? From halal source, from a legal source, and use it to buy khabith, something impure, something haram, like alcohol or pork, it's still also what? It's still also haram. You understand? Even if you don't eat. You get it? So the commandment here is both from the source that we will use, meaning from the source of the money we'll be using to buy this tayyibat, should also be from what? From a halal source, from a legal source. Do you get it? So these are the two commandments. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And Allah has commanded the believers as He has commanded the messengers. So He said, ثُمَّ ذَكَرَ الرَّجُلَ. So we've already explained the two verses. So He said, ثُمَّ ذَكَرَ الرَّجُلَ. After the Prophet has mentioned this, then He narrated the story of a man. He mentioned about a man, a certain man. ثُمَّ ذَكَرَ الرَّجُلَ أَشْعَثَ أَكْبَرَ. أَشْعَثَ أَكْبَرَ. So meaning this man, when the Prophet mentioned him here, he described him as Ash'ath. His hair was unkempt, untidy, dusty. Ash'atha aghbara. And then his clothes, dust all over his dress. Right? So here, this is what? This is totally the opposite description of what? Of the first man in the second hadith. Do you get it? Do you remember the description?
No.
The description of the man in the second hadith? What was the description?
There was no sign of travel on him. He wore white and black.
Did he say jalba?
He was in pure white.
Yeah. So he said, بينما نحن جلوس عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اطلع علينا رجل شديد بياض الثياب شديد سواد الشعر. Right? So here he described him, Omar described him as what? A person who came with what? With extremely black hair. Right? And then with also what? Extremely white dress. So here there's no what? There's no dust on the hair. Right? So that's why they were what? They were astonished. Because no one know him. So they should what? They should see a sign of what? Travel on him. But this man, you see the signs of what? Travel on him. That is the hair was disheveled and kept untidy, and then also his dress, dust all over his body and his dress. Right? Ash'atha akbar. Yutil safar. He has traveled for a long distance. أشعث أكبر يطيل السفر أشعث أكبر يمد يديه إلى السماء. He was stretching his hands to the sky, meaning in the posture of what? Supplication. He was what? Stretching his hand like this. يمد يديه إلى السماء. Ya Rabb, Ya Rabb. He was saying, Oh my Lord, Oh my Lord, Oh my Rabb, Oh my Rabb. يمد يديه إلى السماء. Ya Rabb, Ya Rabb. Then the Prophet said, وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whilst he was doing that, his food that he fed on was from what? From unlawful source. وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ. And then what he drank, his drink, was from unlawful source, from haram source. وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ. And also his dress was also from unlawful source. وَغُزِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ. And was nourished with haram. He was brought up with what? With haram food or from haram sources. وَغُزِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ فَأَنَّى يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How could his prayer be answered in this situation? That's what the Prophet said. So this is the end of the hadith, Rawahu Muslim. So here he mentioned this man, and he described him as what? Someone who was traveling, right? He was traveling and he has traveled for a long distance. And then he was what? He was praying. So he was praying, he was stretching his hands to the sky, calling upon Allah. Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. وَمَطْعَمُهُ haram. And then his food were from what? From haram source. His drink was from haram source. And his dress was from haram, and he was raised with haram sustenance. He was maintained with haram things. فَأَنَّى يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How could his prayer be answered? So here, this hadith teaches us that there are certain things that we have to do for our supplications to be what? To be accepted. Right? So here this man, his prayer was not accepted. And Allah did not what? Did not grant him what he wanted. Why? Because his food, his drink, his sustenance, and then he was also nourished on what? On haram. So this prevented his what? His dua from what? From being accepted. Okay. So this teaches us that eating from what? Living or feeding on a legal source from tayyibat is what? Is very important. Now, this hadith discusses about what? About numerous things. First of all, he mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure and does not accept anything except that which is pure. Right? So here we understand that this is one of the qualities of Allah. We don't attribute any deficiency to Allah. Allah is pure, He's perfect in His what? In His essence. In His attribute, He's complete. In His knowledge, He knows everything, He's all wise. Everything is what? Is perfect about Allah. There's no deficiency. And Allah don't accept anything except that which is what? Which is pure. And then here we've already explained. So here, this teaches us to what? To be mindful of what? Of our intentions. Right? Our intentions. So whenever we act on a righteous act, on an action, it should be what? It should be for the sake of Allah. Immediately we do that action, or we intend to please anyone other than Allah, we what? We lose the reward. Right? Because when we do that, it's not pure anymore. And Allah does not accept anything except that which is pure. You get it? So here, this teaches us what? This refers to the first hadith that we've discussed. Right? And then it also teaches us to what? To only feed on what? On what is lawful, what is made lawful for us. That is the halal food, right? The halal food, the fruit, vegetables, and the food that we know it is what? It is halal, right? And then we should stay away from what? From haram food. And then we also mentioned that we should strive not to what? Not to spend anything except that which is what? From a lawful source, right? Except that is what? That which is from a lawful source. You get it? So you make sure that whatever you are earning is from what? Is from halal source. Sometimes you could do something with your strength, or give, let's say, work on something, right? With your energy, with everything. But that thing is what? Is something unlawful. So the earning become what? Also unlawful. So it's not something that you've done, something that you've done, you've worked tirelessly to gain. That is what? That is lawful. No. You get it? Sometimes, you can do something that there are many things that you do. It's what is something like a labor that you a service that you render. But this service, because it is what is it's something legitimate, it's something lawful. Like, so it's the earning become what? The reward, the payment become what? Become halal, right? And then if you also work on something, right, with all the energy, with the time and everything, on something that is what? That is haram, then the earning becomes also what? Haram, right? So we should also what? We should always focus on the source, and the thing that we are doing. You get it? So that's. And then also for those who are, let's say, people are dependent on them. Let's say those who have family. Try as much as possible not to feed your family with something that is haram. Yes. You see, this man, part of the things that the Prophet mentioned was that he was nourished with haram. He was brought up with what? With haram food. Meaning his parents fed him haram things. وَغُذِّيَ بِالْحَرَامِ. Right? So, and then now it is affecting him. He was praying, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not accepting his prayer. You get it? So here, it is important not to what? Not to feed your family with things that are haram. So here, from this hadith too, we also understand that there are certain things that we have to pay attention to if we want Allah to accept our supplication, right? Supplication, we have to understand it's an act of worship, right? Supplication is an act of worship, but we should know how to supplicate and when to supplicate, and also the manners of supplication, right? So now, let's look at, there are certain things that when we do, it prevents our supplication from being what? Accepted. So one of it is what? Feeding from what? From haram. So when you feed from haram, that prevents your what? Your dua from being what? Being accepted. There's a companion by the name Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, he was one of the companions of the Prophet, and he was known as what? Someone who Allah accepts his prayer. Whenever he prays, Allah accepts. So he once came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, Ya Rasulallah, Udu Allah an yaj'alani mustajab ad-da'wa. O Messenger of Allah, pray for me, for Allah to make me someone whom whenever he prays, Allah accepts. Right? And then the Prophet said to him, أطب طعامك تكن مستجاب الدعوة. He said what? Purify your what? Your feeding. Purify your source of what? Feeding. Purify your food and you will become what? Mustajab al-da'wah. Someone who Allah accepts his prayer. Right? So here this is a guidance of the Prophet. So if you want Allah to accept your prayers, so your supplication, what do? You purify your what? Your feeding. You purify the source of what? Your feeding. The source of your livelihood. Right? Meaning you should what? You should engage in something that is what? That is legal. You get it? You engage in something that is what? That is legal. So when you engage in something that is illegal and earn the money, whatever follows is what is haram. So the source is what? Is very important. Now let's say that someone has what? Has worked tirelessly to sell, let's say, a container of what? Cocaine or a container of marijuana, weed. So this is what? This is something haram and illegal, right? So when you earn money, whatever that you use the money for, it's what? It's haram. Right? When you use the money to buy food, you're eating from what? From haram. Even if the food is halal. Do you get it? And when you give charity with such money, that charity will not be what? Will not be accepted. And when you buy dress with that, you are what? You are wearing a dress, haram dress. Even if that dress is what? Is permissible to be what? To wear. It becomes what? It becomes haram. Why? Because of what? The source. You get it? So the source is what? The source of that money is what? Is very important. So here, this is one of the, we feed, we should eat from what? From only lawful source. Right? And then also stay away from sins. Sins are one of things that prevent our dua, our supplication from being accepted. So now, let's talk about the preferable time for dua. The best time for dua. When should you supplicate? Right? When should you supplicate? Then we talk about how you should supplicate, and then the manners of what? Supplication. Right? So here, there are times that the Prophet ﷺ recommended supplication. He recommends her to what? To supplicate in those times. Right? So these times, we have between the adhan and iqamah. Supplication between the adhan and the iqamah. Allah accepts this supplication. Right? There's a hadith of the Prophet that says, "Ad-du'a'u bayna al-adhani wal-iqamati la yurad." A supplication said between adhan and iqamah is what? It's not rejected. Right? So this is one of the preferable times for what? For dua. And then second is also in sujud. Right? In sujud, we mentioned that sujud, the Prophet said, أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ إِلَى رَبِّهِ وَهُوَ سَاجِدٌ. Right? The closest time a servant have with what? With Allah is what? When it's in prostration. And then the Prophet said, فَاجْتَهِدُوا فِي الدُّعَى. Supplicate more in what? In sujud. فَاجْتَهِدُوا فِي الدُّعَى. So supplicate more when you are in sujud. So this is also what a preferable time. And also when Allah is sending down rain, when it's raining, it's also one of the preferable time for supplication, because when Allah is sending rain, the doors of heavens are open. So Allah don't open the doors of heaven except if He want to be merciful, if He want to shower His mercy on His servant. So that this time is also one of the preferable time for supplication, right? And then also after the obligatory prayers. After the obligatory prayer is also one of the preferable time for supplication. And then also after Quranic recitation. After you've recited the Quran, it's also one of the preferable time for supplication. So now let's look at how should you pray, right? How do we pray? How do we supplicate, right? You know, when you are in need, most of us will just raise our hands, stretch our arms to the skies, and then start asking Allah, "Oh Allah, we need this, we need that, give us this, give us that," right? But there's a way of supplication, how to supplicate, how to ask Allah, right? So you first start with by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So why do you have to thank Allah? Because you want to ask Allah for something, right? And then before you ask Allah for something, Allah has already given you many things that you have to be grateful for, right? So you have to be grateful for the blessings that you have before you ask for more blessings, right? So and Allah also promised that He will give us more when we are grateful for His blessings. So this is the first thing to do, to thank Allah and praise Him for the blessings that He has given you. So you thank Allah. And then the second thing, you send salutation upon the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. You send salutation upon the Prophet, and with this salutation you can say any of the salutation, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallim, right? So you cannot any short salawat, or if you want salat al-Ibrahimiyya, you can say any salawat. So, and then the third thing, there is something called the Ismillah al-A'zam, one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a supplication on its own, but it's also considered the name of Allah. So this name, when you call Allah with this name, He answers. And when you ask Allah with this name, He gives. So once the Prophet ﷺ heard a companion saying this dua, and then the Prophet ﷺ told him that you've asked Allah, you've called upon Allah with the name. When He's called with, He responds. And when He's asked with, He gives. And so this is Allahumma inni as'aluka bi'annaka anta Allahu la ilaha illa ant al-ahad as-samad alladhi lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. So this is it, right? So the first thing to do, what do you do?
You thank Allah.
You thank Allah. Why do you thank Allah?
Gratefulness of the mercy.
And then the second,
salutation
to the Prophet ﷺ. Because this sending salutation to the Prophet, it opens doors. Yes, it opens doors of heaven for Allah to listen to you. Yes, and then also to use this this great name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But if this is long, you think this is long, you can recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, because the content of this dua is same as Surah Al-Ikhlas. Right? Okay. And then the fourth thing, you should what? Supplicate for what? For a friend or a relative. Yes. Supplicate for someone. Make dua for someone. Why do you do that? Because when you supplicate for someone, when you make dua for someone, the angels, you make dua for the person, Allah accepts it. And angels also what? Make dua for you. And then the dua of the angels is better than yours. You get it? The dua of the angels is better than what? Is better than yours. And then, after you've supplicated, you've prayed for someone, a relative or a friend, then you pray for yourself. You ask Allah whatever you want. And then you have to be specific in your dua. Yes, be specific in your dua. Right? Don't use general terms. Allah understands, but you have to be specific. You get it? You have to be specific. So this is how we should supplicate. And when you supplicate like this, inshallah your dua will be accepted. You understand? And also, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi annaka anta Allahu la ilaha illa ant. الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. So this is what? This is the dua. Ismullah al-Azam. So now, let's look at what the manners of supplication. The manners of supplication. So the manners of supplication, it is recommended that when you are supplicating, you should face the Qibla. Right? You face the Qibla. This is not compulsory, but it's preferable. It's the manners of supplication. You face the Qibla. Right? And then also you raise your hand. Stretch your hands to the heavens like this in the posture of dua. Don't rest your hand and then be supplicating. No. You have to You have to stretch your hands and then raise your hands. And then after the dua too, then you wipe your hands with your face. So this is some of the supplication, the manners of supplication. And then you have to show humility in your supplication. You don't sound arrogant, You have to show humility and humble yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're asking Him. And then also the voice, you should not raise your voice in dua. You should pray. So this is also one of the manners of supplication. You don't sound arrogant. You don't also raise your voice. You lower your voice, because Allah said, "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya." Right? You call upon your Lord with lower tone and with humility. Yeah. So these are some of the manners of supplication. Right? So there's a man called Ibrahim bin Adham. So now we've looked at the manners of supplication and how to supplicate, right? And then the preferable time of supplication. Now there's a man called Ibrahim bin Adham. Ibrahim bin Adham is one of the pious men of his time. Is known as as Zahid. Right? So his kunya is Abu Ishaq. His name is Ibrahim bin Adham. So once he went to the marketplace, and the people in the markets surrounded him, and then they were asking him, Ya Aba Ishaq, ma lana nadu Allah wala yujibu lana. And he said, why do we supplicate to Allah and Allah don't answer our supplication? And then he said to them, ماتت قلوبكم بعشرة أشياء. ماتت قلوبكم بعشرة أشياء. Your hearts are dead. Your heart is dead because of what? 10 things. Because of 10 things. And then he started mentioning. So here they came to him and were asking him, why were they praying and Allah don't answer their prayers? So meaning here we understand that there are certain things when you do, Allah don't what? Allah don't answer your prayers. So he said, these are 10 things, and it's very important. Sometimes when I read this, I remember this, I feel like this man said this in the 2nd century of Hijri, right? And we are in the 15th century now. And then what he said was just what is happening today. He said, عرفتم الله ولم تؤدوا حقه وزعمتم أنكم تحبون رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وتركتم سنته وقرأتم القرآن ولم تعملوا به وأكلتم نعم الله ولم تؤدوا حقها وقلتم إن الشيطان عدو لكم فلم تخالفوا وقلتم إن النار حق ولم تعملوا له وقلتم إن النار حق ولم تهربوا منه وقلتم إن الموت حق ولم تستعدوا له وانتبهتم من النوم واشتغلتم بعيوب الناس ونسيتم عيوبكم ودفنتم موتاكم فلم تعتبروا به. So these are the 10 things that he said have caused their hearts to be hardened, and their hearts were weak, and then it's also hardened, right? But the word matat kulubukum, it means their hearts are dead, right? Okay, so he said, عرفتم فلم تؤدوا حقه. You know who Allah is, and you've not worshipped him as he deserved, right? Meaning you did not fear Allah as he deserved to be feared, and you also did not worship him as he deserved to be worshipped. Now we know a lot about Allah. We know the attributes of Allah. We know his names and everything, many things about Allah. But do we worship Allah as he deserves? No, we only focus on on the obligatory act of worship, and then that's all. Right? So here, عرفتم الله فلم تؤدوا حقه. You know Allah, and you did not fear him, also did not worship him as he deserves. And he said also, وزعمتم أنكم تحبون رسول الله وتركتم سنته. And you claim that you love the Prophet, and you abandoned and neglect his sunnah. So we claim that we love the Prophet, right? But we don't follow the sunnah of the Prophet. We don't follow We don't follow the sunnah of the Prophet. And then he said, وَقَرَأْتُمُ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَمْ تَعْمَلُوا بِهِ. He said, you recited the Quran. You know what the Quran entails. You know the teachings of the Quran, but you did know what you don't put these teachings into practice. You don't put what these teachings into action. You don't act on them. Right? And he said, وَأَكَلْتُمْ نِعَمَ اللَّهِ وَلَمْ تُعَدُّوا شُكْرَهَا. And you also what? You enjoyed the favors and the blessings of Allah, and you did not render gratitude for it. You did not show gratitude. You did not thank Allah for it. أَكَلْتُمْ نِعَمَ اللَّهِ وَلَمْ تُعَدُّوا حَقَّهَا. And then he said, this is the fourth one, right? And then the fifth one, he said, وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ عَدُوٌّ لَكُمْ فَلَمْ تُخَالِفُوا. You said that Shaitan, Iblis, is your enemy, and you did not what? You did not disobey him. Yeah, he said what? Iblis is what? Iblis is your enemy, and you did not what? You did not disobey him. So, and then the sixth one. So, and the sixth one, right? The fifth one, he said, وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ عَدُوٌّ لَكُمْ فَلَمْ تُخَالِفُوا. You said, the fifth one, right? The fifth is, you said Iblis is your enemy, and you did not what? You did not disobey him. Right? Iblis is your enemy and you did not disobey him. What does it mean? It means that we claim Allah has declared Iblis, Shaitan, as what? As our enemy. Right? He said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Right? Do not follow the footsteps of what? Of Satan. Because it's what? It's what? A plain enemy to you. Right? So we believe in this. And we said, yes, Satan is what? Is our enemy. But we don't what? We don't disobey him. Meaning, whatever Satan whispers in our hearts is what we do. So قُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ عَدُوٌّ لَكُمْ وَلَمْ تُخَالِفُوا. And then he said, وَقُلْتُمْ, this is the sixth one, وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ حَقٌّ فَلَمْ تَعْمَلُوا لَهَا. He said, you believe that Jannah is created. Jannah is true. The enjoyment of Jannah is true. What Allah has informed us about Jannah is true. You believe in that. And you know that. And you said that. But you did not prepare for Jannah. Right? And then when you look at, are we really preparing for Jannah? We all like Jannah. We love to be in Jannah. But are we preparing for Jannah? No. Right? وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ حَقٌّ وَلَمْ تَعْمَلُوا لَهَا. You said Jannah is what? It's true. But you did not what? You did not prepare for Jannah. You did not prepare for Jannah. وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ النَّارَ حَقٌّ وَلَمْ تَهْرُبُوا مِنْهُ. And you also said and believed that the hell, the fire, Jahannam, is what is true. But you did not what? You did not stay away from what? From Jahannam. Meaning, you did not do things that would distance you from Jahannam. Do you get it? You did not do things that what? Distance you from what? From Jahannam. وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ النَّارَ حَقٌّ وَلَمْ تَهْرُبُوا مِنْهُ. And then he said, وَقُلْتُمْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ حَقٌّ وَلَمْ تَسْتَعِدُّوا لَهُ وَلَمْ تَسْتَعِدُّوا لَهُ. He said, you said that death is what? Is a reality. We all know the verse, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. We all know this, right? Every soul shall what? Shall taste death. We all know this, right? But he said, Kultum, you believe and you said, and you know that death is what? Death is a reality. But you did not prepare for death. So we don't prepare for death. Right? Through our actions, through our dealings, you know that we don't what? We don't prepare for death. Right? So if you know that death is true and you don't prepare for it, so you knowing that death is true and will surely come to you has not benefited you. Right? And he said, this is the ninth, right? He said, وَانْتَبَهْتُم مِّنَ النَّوْمِ. You've waked up from your sleep. But you've busy yourself on people's shortcomings and you forgot your own mistakes. So meaning, we woke up in the morning, or we wake up in the morning always, and then focus on people's mistake. Focus on what people's shortcomings, people's sins. Right? And we forget our own sins. Right? انتبهتم من النوم واشتغلتم بعيوب الناس ونسيتم عيوبكم. You wake up in the morning, you wake up always, and focus on people's mistake, people's shortcoming, people's sin. And then you forget your own shortcomings, you forget your own sins, you forget your own mistakes. Right? And then the last one, the 10th, he said, وَدَفَنْتُم مَوْتَاكُمْ فَلَمْ تَعْتَبِرُوا بِهِ. And he said, You've buried your dead ones, but you did not take lessons or lesson from what? From their death. Because whenever we bury a dead person, we have to We have to take a lesson. This will should remind you of what? Of death. You carrying him today will be what? Perhaps be the next person to be taken to the grave. Right? So he said these are the 10 things that killed your heart. It hardened your heart. So due to this, you are calling upon Allah, and Allah don't accept. So these are the 10 things. So these things, is it happening? Everything is happening, right?
Actually, the 10th one is
وَدَفَنْتُم مَوْتَاكُمْ فَلَمْ تَعْتَبِرُوا بِهِمْ. You've buried your dead ones, and you did not take lesson from their death. Yeah. So he said this in the second century, and we are in the 15th century now. So and then if this is happening in that time, what do you think of our time today? So it's something very serious. We are all guilty of what he said, right? Yeah. So we have to focus on we have to make sure that we feed on on halal. The source of our earning should be halal, and then what we use the halal to buy should also be be halal, right? And we should strive not to feed our family on haram, because it will affect them throughout their life, right? This man is feeding, so meaning he was nourished with haram, and then when he grew up, he also lived on haram, right? So he also who has been nourished with haram, lived on haram, and everything around him is haram, Right. فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ رواه Muslim. So it's an authentic hadith. Yeah. Any question?
Yes.
Okay.
He said the first thing we have to do is we have to believe in whatever Allah has. I mean, we have to believe in Allah. And then the second thing, follow what He has prescribed for us.
Mm-hmm.
My question is it everything that maybe probably want to do something that maybe to praise Allah or something that unless what Allah has prescribed for us, or maybe we can find something in that other scope.
In terms of what?
In terms of anything.
No, it can be in terms of. Yeah. What exactly are you referring
in terms of religion, we have Allah has prescribed us not to take alcohol. Maybe in terms of outside the religion, probably we have certain things that are not prescribed. We don't have any prescription on that. That's all.
Yeah. So here, things that we explain what tayyibat is and one khabithat are, right? So tayyibat are something good that are what? I mean, helpful to what? To our body when we consume them. And then impure things, khabithat, are things that are what? Harmful to what? To the body. So anything beneficial to the body when you consume is what? It falls under tayyibat. And anything harmful to the body is what? Is part of what? The impure, khabithat. Do you get it? So whether the Quran or the Sunnah has mentioned or has not mentioned, if you know that this is what? This is harmful to my body, then it falls under what? The impure. Do you get it?
So what if it's not harmful?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good act. It's not harmful. It doesn't have any side effects or something. How do you be able to classify whether it's of the start or something?
Yeah, so by knowing the effect.
No, that's no effect.
Yeah, so if you are sure it has no effect, but it's not you who will say. It's the people of knowledge, people of knowledge in that field. You get it? This you don't come and ask now. And today we know the effect of what? Consuming alcohol, smoking and all that. So this is clear. There are certain things you need expect to what? To research on it and then tell you. You get it? So you don't come and say, okay, I like this, looking at it, it's good, I like it, there's no effect. No, it's not like that. Right? You get it? So you have to what? Consult those who know on that. Yeah.
Secondly, you say you get a. I'm asking, would you get a reward if one requirement is met? That's the first requirement. You have to believe in Allah. The second thing, it has to be prescribed.
Yeah. No. It will not be accepted. Any action will not be accepted until these two conditions are met. Right? Because if you do good, if you act on a righteous act for the sake of people, what you've done is something good, but you don't have any reward because you didn't do it for the sake of Allah, right? And if you do something for the sake of Allah and not as prescribed, you've also not done what you are told to do. You get it, right? So, for instance, we fast, right, from dawn till sunset, right? Okay, and you said no. I will not fast from what? From dawn to sunset. I will fast from afternoon till what? Till, let's say, dawn, right? Or till next afternoon, right? So even if the intention is right, you've not acted as what? As prescribed. So you will not be rewarded. Do you get it?
Yeah. Also, about the man who was nourished with haram. Yeah, I'm sure in the site you'll have something similar about. But how do you know what is the nourished with this haram? Well, maybe you grew up and find out that your parents are living on a business and they died and they left their skeleton for you. But you don't even know whether it's haram or something. And you fed on, you grew up, everything else.
So immediately you discover that what your parents were working on, were dealing in, was haram, then everything becomes haram for you. Do you get it? Let's say that you grew up, your parents took care of you from childhood, and you don't know what they were doing. And then it's very hard, to say that you are with your parents, they nourish you, don't know what they do.
They are running businesses.
Yeah. So with that, you are, anything that they give you, for you, is what? Is halal for you. But of course, you will also be affected by what? By the haram, by the source of the money. You understand? As this man in the hadith, he has no hand in what they end, but it affected him. You understand? So immediately you discovered that what they were dealing in was haram. Everything becomes haram, right? Let's say that the same money, they died, and then you inherited the companies, and then you did many things with the money, right? I mean, all this is haram, but
So, let's assume you give charity, you give an offering, and do those people too, are they also fresh from?
no, for them it's halal. For them it's halal. So let's say that someone is dealing in what? In cocaine, right? In drugs, right? So this is haram. It's a haram dealing, and the earning is also what? Haram. And then you met someone you don't know, right? Hey, you want to help the person, and you give the person a huge sum of money. It's halal for the person, but to you it's haram.
If the person prays for you, he gets a good reward.
Yeah,
The reward is
yeah. The person, when the person pray for you, Allah will accept the prayer. You understand? But you will not be rewarded for that gift, because the source of the money is haram. But whatever the person gifted will do with the money, he will benefit. For him, it's halal. It's halal for him.
How do you make yourself purified from the impurities in a manner that you were nourished with haram? And now you now know that all the money that you have currently, everything is haram for you. So maybe you just left it, or maybe you dash it out. You know you don't get the reward. Now how do you nourish yourself? Or maybe let's say you
Purify yourself from that. So now, immediately you discover that all that you were fed with was haram, right? So meaning the blood in you, they were telling you. What do you do? This is a very serious thing. So here, you have to abandon what you've inherited. Let's say you've inherited it. So you just abandon it and then start afresh. You engage, you start working, you do things that is legal, right? You work to earn your legal income and then leave this. And then this, you will not burn it. No. People have to benefit. So you use it in constructing bridges, boreholes, and things that people need, like library and everything.
You don't get it.
No, you don't get it. So that's what you use the money for. But to purify yourself, you have to start afresh. You have to stay away totally from that money. So when you do that, you started earning halal and then start consuming, feeding on halal from your halal labor and all that, then inshallah you will get purified. Yeah.
When you realize that the business was still growing, that's after a parent died and they have people working for them, the business was still growing. And maybe probably they might have changed the source of which they used to get the money. Now the business is on the right path. Even though the money because it started from the beginning, it was still hard. So in this situation, does that mean that if you leave everything, you would have to get someone to be controlling the business, or is it everything to go like that? So,
no, you can put a system in such a way that because if you close the company completely, it's a big blow to the community, to many people, because many people are dependent on it, right? So now you can let the business continue, but you will not take anything from it. You get it? So you put a system, you place someone to monitor everything, take care of everything, and then the money that comes, you use it in what? In making projects like libraries, bridges, giving scholarship to students and all that. To them, it's halal. You get it? Because when you close the company completely, it's a huge loss to the community. It's a huge loss to the employees. But you will just resign from it and start your life. Yeah, you get it. And those working there, it is not haram for them. It is not haram for them. Of course, as far as what they are doing there is legal. Let's say that the source of the money, the capital of the company, was from, let's say, drug money, or the parents stole the money from somewhere or duped someone. It's from haram source, right? And then they set up let's say, water company. Let's say they are producing pineapple or pineapple juice. They have a pineapple farm producing pineapple and then pineapple juice, right? So from a drug money, stolen money, to what? To a factory that produces pineapple and then pineapple juice. So this pineapple juice business is what? It's halal, it's lawful. But the source is what? It's haram. So the profit, everything is haram. But the managers, those who are working in the factory, those who processes, those who design the labels and everything, it's halal for them. Because they are what? They are rendering service, right? It's service that they are rendering. So whatever they earn, it's halal for them. You get it? But for the owners, it's haram. You understand? So let's say as a child has inherited this company. What do? You resign from it and start a life. That has nothing to do with this. So that you can to start earning halal, you feed on haram and on halal and depend on it. And inshallah, with that, you get the haram blood and the haram water that flows in you, get it out, inshallah.
Yeah, I wanted to know, so in that particular this one, if someone gives you maybe the managers or something, they realize that you've taken yourself out of it, but someone is running the business and all of them decided to maybe give you something out of it. Even though they know it's yours, it's your company, it's your person, and they decide to give you something out of it. Are you supposed to take?
You don't reject it, take it. But put it in a project. Right? In a project, like give someone the money as a scholarship to sponsor his or her education. You understand? So do that. Inshallah, through this, maybe Allah will forgive you and then your parents.
The house you're living in, maybe your parents were living, you all were living. Are you supposed to leave that house?
Yes, you have to.
Even though you don't have anywhere to stay. Now you started working.
Yeah, so with that, if going from the house completely will affect you, you can stay in the house and then start doing something legal, something lawful. After resigning the company, you can start doing something until you get yourself a place to live. You understand? Then you can leave the house, because everything now is haram. The bed, everything. So you have to purify. Yeah, you get it.
The one who said, who?
Yeah, the advice of Ibrahim bin Adham.
Is he a Sahabi?
No, it's not a Sahabi. It's not a Sahabi. It's not a Sahabi. Perhaps he's part of the Atba'i Tabi'in. Those, those who saw the Sahabas, we call them Tabi'un. And then those who saw the Sahabas, we call them. So these were a successor of a successor. Now, Tabi'in.
What he said, what of our fellow Christians? Because most of them, if you mention the rich people, you see them there. So for them, they don't follow Allah, they don't follow the Prophet.
No, but this for them, if he's talking to the Muslims, he said, "Araftum Allah, falam tu'addu haqqahu." You know who Allah is, and you did not worship Him as deserved. The Christian, does he know Allah? No. So it's not talking to him. زعمتم أنكم تحبون رسول الله. You claim that you love the Prophet. You neglected his sunnah. So the Christians, do they love the Prophet? Do they follow the sunnah? No. So it's not talking about them. It's not addressing them. It's addressing the believers.
And Sheikh, also my question on that same issue. Let's say we have the drug company which my family started, and really big debt, it's still running, and people are still buying the things from the company, and it's affecting their life.
Okay.
So then, if I will have a way to convert that company to a different way instead of leaving it to be running whilst affecting others, let's say the drug definitely will affect them, and convert it to
continue
to another way where it will move from the drug side into another thing that it will not going to affect other people. So if I were able to change it, will it change to halal or is still haram?
Brother, everything depends on the capital, the seed money. If the seed is haram, anything at all that follows is haram. Let's say you started with one company, right? And then you manage it so well to have 10 companies. From the mother company and the sisters and the brothers company, all is haram. So here, to your question, how do you convert this? Let's say it's you are processing cooking, let's say. And then we know that this is what? The product is haram. The earning is also what? Haram. So you want to move from what? Cocaine production to a different halal production, right? Okay. So here, when let's say that it's your parents started it, right? A parent started and then a child inherited. So when you inherit this, now when after their death and you continue this, they will still be punished for what is going on. So now, how do you correct this? Yes, you can say, okay, I want to move from what? From a cocaine production to, let's say, cassava processing production, or let's say company, right? So you are moving from one thing, from haram product to what? To a halal, to haram product to halal product, right? So here now you've changed from what? Production. So now you've changed the production from haram to halal, right? But everything here is still what? It's still haram. Because of what? Because of the capital, because of the source, right? So here you can still continue, and then you don't what? Don't feed on it, right? Don't depend on it for your livelihood. So what you do is let it continue. The profit, you have the community with it. You do projects like bridges or libraries, as we mentioned. You give scholarship. You help the needy and all that, right? So that's what you should do. And then you yourself don't feel, if you can totally resign and then even move away completely from it, do that. You understand?
So what if you don't have anything? You don't have anything. If you resign on it, it's more like you can't even survive it. You don't have anything. There's nothing you can do about, and like you don't have anything.
Yeah, so this is not an excuse to continue consuming haram. You know, so but you have to start from someone. You get it? So you have to definitely, if you don't care about akhirah, then continue. You get it? If you don't care about akhirah, then brother, enjoy it and then face the consequences. But if you care about akhirah, you want to change everything, right? Then resign from it, stay away from it, don't take any penny from it. Right? Don't take any, because everything that you will be even having to move on is all from it. So you start all over again, start something small, you understand, find a work, start working, and then earn your halal, and then change everything gradually. Inshallah, with this intention, Allah will ease things for you.
Okay. So, what if you grew up, maybe your parent died, and you realize that, okay, they are running about 15 countries. All of them, the money is coming, everything is going also. But you didn't know that the source of the money from the beginning, how it started, was from maybe something illegal.
Okay.
And the business is growing fine, yourself, your life is going well, you even have a family, everything is going well. And you are doing a lot of good things and you die. So on the day of judgment, are you going to be held responsible for not knowing the source? Because you took up the business how but you didn't know how everything started. You just realized your parents are into this business and you just continue.
Yeah, so here you are not sinful. You not be held accountable to you is halal. You've inherited, and that inheritance will be halal for you. That's if you don't know the source of money, the source of the money, right? And then your parent will be accountable for everything. You get it? So yeah, but if you know the source of the money, we are talking about what those who know the source of what the money, how it started. If it started from haram, then brother, stay away from it. You know, many people think that they can start with something haram, like start dealing in cookie, right? When they get the money, then they move to halal. No, you know, and then they think that, okay, this money, if I use this haram money to support people, Allah will forgive me and I'll. No. The money does not belong to you in the first place. It's not legal. It's not for you in the first place to even talk of earning a reward from it. You get it?
So I think that most of the reason why you see people engaging themselves in stuff, even the people who are there to help them are not helping them. I mean, things are very hard. How many people who are supposed to help are not helping? Even it comes to the extent that some, like your brother or someone who's supposed to help you, should not be helping. So the only choice you have is either you live or you die.
No. This is not an excuse. Yeah, many people, we are living in a very wicked society, very wicked community. People are so selfish. You understand? People are not helping each other. But yes, I mean, struggle. Hustle for yourself. Right? Yeah, and then hustling, there are many legal, lawful ventures to hustle in. Not necessarily haram. But the issue is that people are in haste to make it. Right? People are in haste to make it. So, and they think when they make it from haram, they can convert the haram into halal. No. Once it is haram, it's always haram.
Maybe what if maybe 50% is haram, 50% is halal? Maybe then you combine it.
Yeah, so now you know 50 is haram, 50 is halal. What do? You take the halal, the 50%, and then leave the haram.
Okay.
Yeah.
That question is a good question. What if 50% is haram, 50 is halal, and also now the company have about 55 of them, right? Things are going well. So can you divide the number of companies and leave them?
No. You look at the seed money. Yes, this. How much did it start with? So you take the 50% and then the rest is. Now, so since 50 is now, yes. So yes, I get the point. I get the point. Now you take your 50%. You take your 50%, and then also the 50% of the profit of the 50%. This. But if you can take only the seed money, the 50%, the seed money, it will be better for you. Because the rest, there's doubtful issue on it. You get it? There's doubtful. It's a problem. There's problem with the profit of the 50%. So if you can, just take the 50%, your seed money, the 50%, and leave the rest.
Like that good money to contribute to the success of the family.
But here, there are two things involved here. Mm-hmm. When you take, let's say, the profit of the 50%, mm-hmm. Now there's probability that maybe it's not the profit of the 50%. That's halal money. You get it? So you are in doubt whether this is halal or haram. But you are certain that 50% of the seed money is halal. So take what you are certain and leave what you are not for. You get it? Yes. That would be my advice.
Okay, right? Again, maybe you have 10,000 dollars. Mm-hmm. Maybe what is it? 5,000 haram.
Yeah. Yes.
So you were able to make, let's take that, half a million. Mm-hmm. That means, or maybe let's take $1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
And maybe half a million, $50,000. That means, can you divide maybe $50,000 for the haram side and another $50,000?
That's what I'm saying. You just take the capital, that 50% from the capital, because the rest will be what are doubtful. You know.
So what if maybe you are not in doubt?
Voila, if you're not in doubt, that's your issue. Then I'm proposing the safest way, that you prevent yourself from consuming haram. You get it? So here, when you take the 50% from the seed money, you are certain that you're on the right path. But now, when you say, okay, since 50% of the seed money is haram, 50 is halal. Okay, now this is the profit. I will divide it into two. Take half and then leave half. Okay. What if the half that you've taken, there's haram money in it? You know, you can partner. You know, you can partner with someone, and then not necessarily your money will fetch the profits. Maybe the other person's money will fetch more of the profits. You understand? So this is the safest way. To the best of my understanding, this is the safest way. You take your seed money and then leave the rest. Here you have something to start with. If you can, if you invested this amount of money, and then you are able to get this profit, then you can start with this small and make the halal. You get it? Now you have the experience. You are starting from what? With experience, so you can easily make it.
Based on your question, maybe you partner.
No, it's not a question.
Yes, suggestion. Or maybe the point.
Okay.
Maybe Shuaib and I partnered and we came up with a business. Not knowing some of my money came from a haram source. While Shuaib's money was very pure. And now the business grew to an extent that, and later on Shuaib came to realize that part of my money came from haram. You see, will it be affected with the haram that's contributed to the business? Because now he came to know when the business got to it.
Voila. Yeah, with him. Voila. And this is a bit tricky. I don't know. I don't want to say anything. Yeah.
But say, like yourself, you contributed 50%, and another 50% haram, halal, haram. Now the business got to its peak. So here, in order not to be doubt, choose to take 40% or maybe 30% of the profits. For instance, we have maybe the business, the profit of out of the business was somewhere like maybe 50 billion. And you choose 30% of the money and the rest of 30%, you let someone to manage it for you. Anything that comes, you use it for something good in the community. So, but your 30% of the business that you got is yours. But you started living a new life and everything. But in order not to let the company collapse, we are still doing good things.
Well, I can assure you that the 30% that you'll be taking is halal. I
So
can't
you
assure you.
consider 70% out of that.
I don't know, brother.
Wow.
I can't assure you that. I mean,
It's serious.
so let's pause here. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.